Great. So welcome to the Lean UX book reading club today. And thank you very much for your time, for spending your precious weekend morning with the group. Okay. So as usual, I always take the first part and I try to onboard certain things which are being used in the book. Okay, because we all are meeting for the first time, and what we try to do in the first part is let's onboard what are the majority of the concepts which are being used in this book. Okay, so here we are in the product book reading club where we are reading the book related to Jeff Gothelf and Josh Sedan. And the word itself, the first book is the uh, product. First word is the product, right? So let's understand what do we mean by product. One of the legend has given this definition of the product. This definition of the product. Okay, and he is telling anything that adds a value, anything that adds a value to the customer. So that is the product. Anything that adds a value to the customer. So he's defining that as the definition of the product. Here there are two major words or two important words. Those are being used. Okay. One is the value and another is the customer. I generally ask, who is the customer? I generally ask, who is the customer? And let's take an example with that one. Abdul, and he is purchasing insurance for the kids and for the parents and for the family. In this case, whether Abdul is the customer or kids are the customer. Yes. Any view from you?
Because
I think Abdul is a customer, but kids are indirect customer. They are users, right? But the customer will be Abdul because he's purchasing the policy. He's paying for the insurance and he's managing the insurance.
Okay, I will not say it is the right
Yeah,
answer.
end user
Yeah,
kids.
yeah. Please go ahead, Dipti.
End user is kids, but sponsor of this whole purchase is Abdul.
Okay, okay,
So customer is Abdul.
okay. Anyone?
Consumer is
Yeah,
correct.
great, great. Again, we will not conclude whether these answers, these views are right or wrong. Okay. So anyone from the group who would like to share who is the customer and why?
I think kids are the customer because they are using the product. Who's
Okay,
buying, who's not buying, that's immaterial over here. The
okay,
customer is somebody who uses the product.
okay. Customer is somebody who uses the product. Okay. Any other view from this group? Don't worry. There is no punishment for the wrong answer. And obviously, definitely a chai or coffee when we meet for the right answer. Okay. From yeah.
Just a small point, like anything or everything that a customer uses that helps make their lives easier in any way.
Okay. So I didn't catch Masandan.
Anything or everything that helps a customer or makes a difference in their life by helping their life easier or the kind of work they're doing easier.
Okay. Okay. So Asad or Ata. Yeah.
Kids, I would say.
Okay, kids are the customer. See, now I'm going to share the view which has been used in this book, to call who is the customer and who is not the customer. And this concept is same with the other authors as well, and means with whom we are dealing with, or the other authors who are from this philosophy. Okay, as per them, kids are not the customer. It is Abdul, he is the customer. Why? Because he has purchased that one. He is the decision maker. No doubt kids are going to influence Abdul, or the parents are going to influence Abdul, but he is going to take the decision because he is paying the money. Okay. So whenever we are whenever Jeff Gothelf is speaking about the customer, please always consider that the person is paying for that services that the author is calling as the customer. This is very much important. The reason being is this is a very basic concept, and we need to keep in mind whenever the word customer is used, what is that persona? What is that persona? That we have to be very much careful. Okay. We might be having other views, but at least when we are reading this book, when we are going through these philosophies, we need to consider this definition. Okay. Because there is another example, organization, and the organization is purchasing Microsoft Teams. There are so many software, so many tools they are purchasing, and those are being used by the employees. Those are being used by the employees. And whenever we have certain problems, whenever we have certain problems, we always communicate that to the organization. No doubt we influence them. According to that influence, the organization takes the decision. In one of the organization where I was working in the past, okay, there are two teams. One team was in India, and another team was in the US. And there was one tool where the Indian employees told they need this tool, but that was not demanded by the US employees, and the organization didn't purchase that one. And the organization didn't purchase that tool. The reason being is even though the customers are telling, we need the Indian customers. Sorry for the even though the Indian employees are telling we need this one, but the organization didn't purchase that.
Abdul, your voice is breaking.
Even though we were influencing the organization, but the organization, my voice is breaking.
Yep.
Okay. Is it still breaking?
Yes, a little bit.
Okay, let me see my network. Just a minute. Yep, it is seems to be fine. Let's see if it breaks again. I will change my network or do something.
No, it's a little bit better now.
Okay. So I was telling even though the Indian employees were telling to change the tool, to have the tool, but the organization didn't purchase that one. Okay. So that's the reason I say that, okay, from the author's perspective, organization is the customer because they are paying for that money. They are paying for that tool. Okay. Now let's see another definition the author is using, that is output and outcome. This is very much important again. This is very much important. We technical people always get confused with these two words. Okay. So what do you mean by outcome? what is the definition of outcome? Outcomes are those things what customer wants. What customer wants. So those are the outcomes. And outputs are those things which actions we take to achieve the outcome. Actions taken to achieve the outcome, those are called as the outputs. And activities are those tasks which we execute, which we perform to achieve the output. This cascading of the definition of outcome, output, then activities is very much important. Again, majority of the authors whom we refer, they have the same definition, they have the same concept of outcome, output, and activities. Okay. Can you give some example from your work, what outcomes you are producing? Any of the outcomes, dear friends? Ata, Habib, any of the outcomes?
Yeah, I want to mention you one thing. So, I comes from the infra background,
Okay.
and
It's
to hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, wanted to share that means I come from the infra background, and to keep the infra stable, that's our outcome. And what are the activities to keep it uh, stable? The things which we are doing, just like monitoring or generating the alerts and taking actions on the generated alerts. So I can say that is the output and the activities.
Okay. Okay. Now, thank you very much, Ata, for sharing that one. Because what we say, if we use the word customer, by default, it is the person who is paying. But those are they are not paying anything. What we say is ask the question, so what? If that is reaching, we have to ask the question, so what? So that we reach to the customer. What's going to happen if if you don't provide the infrastructure? What is going to happen? Because that is the outcome. Because that is the outcome. If if the infrastructure is not working, then something is not going to happen. Something is wrong going to happen, right? That impact the customer will have. Okay. And keeping up the infrastructure, supporting the internal team. So those actions, we say, those are the outputs. Those are not the outcomes. And related activities, we call as the related actions, we call the out activities. Okay, great. So let's understand with this example, with one example. I think I have only meaning example over here. Okay. Yes. Just take this example. Okay. Here we are telling we want to reduce. We want to just a minute. Here the outcome. What we want is 10% reduction in the bounce rate and increase in the time spent on the on our website by our customers. Okay, so that is the outcome which we want. I think this is again related to the external customer, the outcome. If you see the output, design a website with a nice user interface with simplified navigating content. So this is my output. Generally, if we ask any of the developer what is the outcome you are going to produce, he is going to say, design a website. Come for the technical people. No, that is not the outcome. That is the output. Okay. And what are the related activities? Okay. Conducting user research and usability testing, implementing web design updates, analyzing the website analytics. Okay. So these are the high level activities, but we technical people always get confused in the output, outcome, and the activities. Either we technical people call output as outcome or activities as outcome, but that is not the case. And if you have any question, any doubt, I'm perfectly fine to have a discussion because I'm finishing my given time. Okay, so that is the reason I will end my presentation over here. And if you have any question, any doubt, please correct me. I will share my views on this one. Okay.
I think this is
So,
perfect. I think this is perfect way of
Shamshir, over to you to
yeah.
share your content and share the things.
Yeah, sure. So this is good because even in my allocated chapter, this was the point of focusing more on outcomes, right? You guys can hear me, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I thought I was hearing some echoes. Okay, awesome. Abdul,
Let me stop.
can you stop sharing?
Yep.
Yeah, I'll share my screen then.
Yep.
Awesome.
Over to you.
It's telling me host disabled participant screen sharing. Now you will have to allocate.
Oh, yes.
Assign me.
Yes. Just a minute. I should have done at the beginning. Yep, now you are co-host, so you should be able to do that.
I think you assign Aris as a co-host. Not
Yep.
me.
Yep, that's great.
Now I can share. Okay, let me start with my presentation. I just created a couple of slides, not better than you, but yeah, just a simple diagram, right? So like Abdul mentioned, we focused on customers, we focused on outcome versus output. Now, the whole idea of this Lean UX book is to understand why we need to focus more on user experience instead of just producing the output, right? So before we jump into that, I want to introduce myself. My name is Shamsher Ansari. I recently become a product manager, technical product manager, and I work at Platform 9 for almost like 8 to 10 months right now, right? And I joined this book reading club from the beginning when I wanted to become a product manager. And I think this journey is really helpful for me to learn from the best from this book reading club, and that's why I want to continue this. And I become a volunteer for this next book reading club. Okay, so let's move to the first chapter, which is introduction to lean UX, right? So when I think about a lean UX, or when I think just about the lean, this is something that comes into my mind, right? You have one fat guy and you have a lean guy, right? And this picture actually helps me understand that lean is something which actually removes waste from your body, right? So somebody who is really fat, he's having lots of waste in his body. He's eating a lot. He's having fat. He's having a lot of unnecessary things in his body. But someone who regularly exercise, someone who eat healthy, and someone who takes care of his body, he actually removes the waste from his body, right? And that's why he's lean, he's fit, and he's better, right? we can think of lean UX in the same terminology, where the lean UX will be basically something where we remove the waste, unnecessary things from the UX, unnecessary things from the processes, and focused on the most important part that will make you lean, that will help you generate more value, or I would say that will help you generate more outcome, right? So this picture is always that I keep in my mind when I think about lean, right? And we can, going forward, just keep it in mind that whenever we are talking about lean UX, we are talking about doing the right things and removing the waste, right? So it's basically a combination of three things which defines a lean UX. It's the first one is a design thinking. The second is lean processes, or you say a lean startup. And then the third one is the agile, methodology, right? And combining these three different things together makes lean UX better, right? So what is design thinking? It's basically when you think about designing any system, you think about exploring the problem and identify what is the problem that we are trying to solve, right? And we always think about from the customer perspective. We always think about the user experience perspective. Most of the SaaS-based products, most of the internet-based products are something that people use every day, right? If you make it too complicated, people will not be able to use it properly. They will be confused with a lot of things that you put on the apps or on the website, right? So it's very critical part of lean UX to have a design thinking where you actually explore the problem before building something properly, right? The second one is lean UX or lean startup. Basically, it's a book written by Eric Ries who explain why we need to have a lean startup mentality to in this time frame, in this decade that we are going through in the internet boom, to build the right things, right? And when you focus on lean startup, you basically go and identify what are the most important things that my customer needs, what are the things that I want to build which will produce more value to the customers, right? And it reduces a lot of unnecessary things in the from the processes of building your application, right? And the third most important part is agile methodology, which focuses more on iterative development, getting more feedback from the customers, and then shipping it more frequently to resolve customer issues. So the lean UX is basically the combination of all these three things together to make your product more useful to the customers. Okay. Now, like I said, this is basically combining the principle of all of these three things together to make development faster and more useful to the customers. Now, when you focus on lean startup, it's basically ensuring that the ideas that is having the most value will be developed first, right? You don't actually build something which nobody wants, right? So for example, if you're building an application for people to interact with each other, the most important thing that you can build off is community forum or a dedicated group where people can interact with each other and talk to them and get some suggestions, right? If you don't focus on that part, if you're building a community, what you wanted to do is, if you just build a YouTube player or some kind of a different videos in your website that people are not interested to see, then you will produce wrong results. Because when you build a website for community, the most important things is a community forum or a dedicated groups, right? So that's what lean startup focuses on, building the most valuable thing and assigning it most resources that will build it faster, right? And then when you do that, you will have to focus on collaboration, experimentation, and rapid iteration. These are the most important things in an agile methodology that will help you ship the most important and the right thing to the customers, right? And that's what the lean UX is all about. Right? Now, the most important thing that we'll have to think about is, now we are starting this chapter. This is just the beginning. Now, this question should always pop up in your mind, that why lean UX, why it's necessary, why it's important to have a lean UX mindset for developing any product. So if you think about, if you go back to 1980s or 90s, the manufacturing processes were basically, very, I would say, a waterfall kind of model, where you design something when the design completes, you give it to the process guy. He will go through all the different steps, and then it once the steps are finalized, it goes to the manufacturing plant, and then the manufacturing happens. When the manufacturing gets complete, it gets delivered to the customers, right? So that was the methodology that was used. That was the approaches that have been used for a long time in the manufacturing industry, where you develop something, then you hand it over to the other guy, and then when that is complete, you hand it over to a third person like manufacturing processes, and they will go through and implement that, right? The problem with that approach is, if something goes wrong in the design phase, then all the different pipelines, all the different stages that it goes through will also follow the same processes, and then that was very costly. If you ship the product and customers are using it, they see that there's a fault, it will be a huge problem for them, right? Then you have to go through again the designing phase, and then the processes phase, and then the manufacturing phase. And that was the traditional approach. Now, what Lean UX focuses is on a shorter release cycles, right? Now that we are in the era of SaaS-based products, the internet-based products, now you don't need to build something and then hold customer for like 1 year to see what you're building, right? You can iteratively develop it, you can have a very shorter release cycles, right? And you can hand it toward it to the customers very quickly, right? And that's why Lean UX focuses on iterative development. That's why Lean UX focuses on more collaboration in all the stages of product development, not just the design will happen first, and then the manufacturing will take it to the customers very late, right? So the iterative development and collaboration between different teams is the focuses of Lean UX, and to develop product faster and hand it over, or give it to the customers very quickly to get the feedback, right? Because right now, if you see, everybody's building a new products every week, or every day you will hear a new like AI products, or new SaaS-based products, on new apps or websites have been delivered, right? So there is a huge competition. And if you want to stand out in the market, you'll have to iteratively develop it, iteratively release it to the customers. And that's why the focus of Lean UX is to focus on these different steps. Now I'll take a pause and see if you have any questions.
No question, but the image what you use, that I liked it very well.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I wanted to keep that all the time in my mind when reading the entire book, because that will have a more focus on removing the waste and focusing on the most important parts. Okay. Now, how the evolution happens for a product design. Like I mentioned, in 1980s and 1990s, there were the processes where you first design things, and then you hand it over to a different team, and then they will develop it, and then the development cycle will take like 3 to 6 months, and then you hand it over to the customers, right? That has a lot of problem, right? And that's why what Lean UX says, that you have to think about and consider the changing market dynamics, because every day new products are launched, every day new competitions are appearing in the market. And if you want to build product that customers want, if you want to build product that will be useful for all the customers, you will have to focus on the market, you will have to focus on more quick release cycles, right? And that's why Lean UX focuses more on collaboration, quick feedback loops, and data driven decision making. Now, these three important things are really crucial for Lean UX, because when you deliver something to the customers and you don't know whether they are using it or not, or how they are using it, it will be very, very difficult to, identify whether you've built the right things or not, right? And that's why we have more, analytics in the product to find out whether the feature that you have developed and released is really something that customers are using or not, right? And you collect different types of data. Like, for example, if you have a 5 pages on your website, and the most important page is the 3rd page, but when people land on your website, they just go to 5th page and they exit. So there's a lot of drop rate, right? And these all different things get collected from the analytics. So you, based on those data that have been collected, you can actually take a data-driven decisions and identify whether we have shipped 5 features, but only 2 features have been used by most customers, right? So that you will get a quick feedback, and then you can make informed decisions to iterate on it and see whether how you can add value or more value to those different pages, or either remove those pages completely and focus on only two things that customers are using, right? So that's how the evolution happens in the product design. That's how iterative development is crucial for lean UX, right? Now there are three principles of lean UX. There are actually, if you go to the entire book, there are different principles that they've mentioned, but these are the three principles that lean UX focuses more, right? So collaboration over individual effort, right? So like I mentioned previously, the design team used to design everything and then they hand it over to a front end people. They will go and just design it and then receive some data from the back end, and then you hand it over to the customer, right? But the problem with those approaches is if something goes wrong in the design phase, everything goes wrong to the customer level also, right? So that's why the lean UX principle focus more on collaboration and involving most of the team members who are building the product, including your designer, your front end people, your back end people, and think about how you can generate more value or how you can produce something that will be more useful to the customer, right? The next principle is rapid experimentation and iteration, and that's where the agile methodology comes into the picture, where you take like a 2 weeks of sprint, decide something to develop on, which customer needs, and then work with your designer to design a specific features. You provide the API, you implement those features, and then you release after 2 weeks of your sprint, right? And once you release that, you with the analytics that you have set up in your product, you can actually identify whether whatever we have shipped is actually useful or not, right? And that's how the rapid experimentation happens and iteration happens. If something that customers are not using, you go ahead and see what is the problem. You talk to their customers and then identify whether that feature that you've developed is really helpful, whether they are having some difficulties in using it, and then you do some rapid iteration on top of it in the next upcoming sprints or release cycles, right? And like Abdul mentioned in the initial stages, your focus should be more on outcomes over the output, right? Now, when you say outcomes, it's basically what customer wants, right? Not what you are, what you are producing just to tell the customer that we have lots of features in our product that nobody cares. So we always have to focus on the outcome part over the output, right? And that's why lean UX focuses on these three principles to make sure that the product that you ship is right for the customers, that is producing more value, and that is useful for the people who are using it. Okay. Now, the key components of lean UX consist of different things, right? It's basically across functional teams who are going to develop the product, right? So if you have a SaaS-based products, you have designer, you have front-end developer, you have a back-end team, you have DevOps team who are going to deploy this application, right? So what it focuses on is if you want to build any feature and ship it to the customer, you will have to actually start involving all the stakeholders, all the different teams who are responsible for shipping this feature, not just one person who decides everything, right? And that's why cross-functional team collaboration is necessary, because that way you will be able to identify whether the feature that you're shipping is the right feature or not, and whether it will create a more impact, right? Now, once you ship that feature to the customers, you will have to take a feedback from them, right? It's not just that, okay, we are great, we have shipped like 10 features in this product and we have done a good job, right? But what if the customers are using only two features? How do you know that? You have to go and talk to your customers. You have to, collect data from the customers and get some feedback on whether the feature that you have shipped is really useful or not, right? And basically that happens when you have a shared understanding between different teams and also from your customers, right? So you take a feedback, you ship a feature, you take a feedback from the customers to identify whether it's the feature that you've developed is useful or not. And based on that, you iterate on it, make sure that you get the right feedback from your customers. And then in the next upcoming cycles of releases, you actually ship those features so that customers know that you have taken into consideration their feedback, and they become your loyal customer. They know that you're taking feedback, and they are hearable. You're considering all the features that they want, and that's how you build the right product for your customers. Right now, the benefit of lean UX is basically you actually ship much faster as compared to having like 3 months or 6 months releases. Now, if you can see the Airbnb, if you can see Facebook, if you can see other a lot of big companies, they ship features or bug fixes or improvements every week. Right? They have a lot of pipeline, they have a lot of automation that makes sure that the features that they are shipping is already tested properly, and they are considering the customer feedback, they are considering the user feedback. So the benefit of lean UX is you only focus on the most important part, remove the waste, and then you ship those to the market very quickly, right? And that's very important, because if you take a feedback from your customer and if you'll say that this is something we will ship in the next 6 months, right? Will they like it? No, right? Because they want it to be fixed in your upcoming cycles and in your upcoming releases, because that's something they are facing some a big problem with, right? If you are going to tell them that we want to ship this feature in the next 6 months, they will definitely go to the your competitors, where there is a faster time to market, where they're shipping more bug fixes and improvements of features to the market, right? So it's important that lean UX actually focus on faster time to market with iterative development, and focuses more on collaboration with the team, right? And when you do that, when you hear your customers' feedback and deliver that, you basically, your customer will start liking your product. They will continue to use it. They won't go to your competitors, because you're actually focusing on customer needs, not just becoming a feature factory, not just becoming like we have delivered 10 features or 15 features in these releases that nobody wants to use, right? So lead US's focuses on customer needs and faster time to market, right? And it also looked into the changing market condition. Like I mentioned, I know every day, every week, there is a new product in the market. You will have to identify what competitors are providing so that you are not left behind. Your product is having the right kind of feature that customer needs and customer wants. Because if you don't look into the market condition, the way the market is moving, your product will left behind and you will lose a lot of customers, right? Now, if you already know about the Nokia, right? They wanted to go ahead with their own operating system and they didn't follow Android, and that's why they left behind. They lost a lot of revenue, and like you rarely hear anything about Nokia customers now, right? So that's why you will have to also think about the changing market condition, how the market is moving, and you have to learn from them and build the right thing for the customers so that you are not left behind and your products are valuable to the customers. Now, this is the most important part, right? Because now we are talking about lean UX. Now we are talking about generating the outcome. We are talking about customers. But who is going to use lean UX? Is it something that customers will use? Is it something that the business people will use? This is basically that your entire company can be a part of lean UX paradigm or lean UX process, right? So it consists of your designers, it consists of your product managers, the developers, right? And then your sales team, your marketing team, everybody can be a part of this lean UX and deliver the right thing to the customers, right? So starting from the beginning of designing the feature to what to build and why to build it, and then handing it over to the customers at the last stage, everybody will be involved. Everybody will be a part of lean UX. It's not just for a designer or a product manager. It's not just for sales or marketing team. It's not just for developers, right? Everybody can be a part of lean UX process, lean UX ideology, lean UX mindset, and then think about building and shipping the right feature with iterative development and not doing anything that is not useful to the customer. Okay. Now, like I mentioned, if you want to build a lean UX, if you want to include the lean UX in your company, there are a lot of things that you will have to think about very carefully before going ahead in this idea and this thinking. Right now, that includes a daily collaboration and communication within the teams. Right, you don't build any feature and then tell after 3 months that this is something we want to release and nobody knows about it. You have to have a daily collaboration, like at least once a week, I would say, that your other teams will know that what you're delivering. So just to give you an example, uh, in my current role, what I've started is a design review process where whenever we wanted to, we hear from any customers that they want something. So for example, they wanted in our product, they wanted an advanced policies, right? So instead of just telling the marketing or sales team after everything is done that this is something that customer wanted and we have developed it, what we started doing is we initiated a design review process where we hear something from customers and then we create a PRD of it, and then we share it with the entire company. That involves designers, that involves developers, that involves sales and marketing team, that involves solution architect team. Everybody will be a part of it, and then they will hear it. The product manager responsibility is to explain it, what this feature is, what customer wants, and this is what our thinking is. Now what is your feedback, right? And we do this every week on Wednesday to get a feedback from different stakeholders, different teams that are responsible for customer success, right? So that's how the feedback that I hear from them is, this is important, this is very crucial, because now we know what we are going to ship it to the customers from the beginning, not at the end of releases, right? So previously it was like 3 months happened, there is a release cycle, and then you tell the customer success team, you tell the solution architect team that this is something what we have built, and you have to sell it to the customer. Okay. Now they have to go through this entirely, and they gave a lot of feedback previously that this is something customer won't like, this is something customer needs more. You haven't considered that into an option. And that's why we changed that approach, and we enable a more communication with different teams who are responsible for delivering the feature to the customers. Right. And yeah, this is something that I have personally experienced with collaboration and communication with different teams. So that's what I wanted to share with you. And that's something I've learned while reading the Lean UX book, right? What is the different processes? What are the different ways you can actually deliver the right thing to the customers, right? Now, the next part is a lightweight deliverables and prototypes, right? When you say a lightweight, it doesn't mean that it doesn't include all the features or the things that customers. It's basically focusing on the most important things that can be delivered in 2 or 3 weeks, or like at least in 2 sprints, like in a month, right? And you do that, you create a small prototype, you share it with your different teams, you get the feedback, you iterate on it, and then you deliver it to the customers after like 2 sprints or 3 sprints, depending on different company cycles that you have, right? It depends on companies to companies how they follow the process and how they want to do it. But if you follow Lean UX, it focuses more on lightweight deliverables and small prototypes to get more feedback from your different teams and customers, right? And when you deliver it to the customers, basically the idea is to learn from them, get their feedback, and see whatever feature that you have delivered is working for them or not, whether they want more things, whether they want the right things, or whether you have just built a feature factory to give them lots of options that they don't care about, right? So you focuses on these different learnings, you actually get a lot of feedback from them, and then you iteratively develop on that for a different product that you have. Okay. Now this is the end of my slide. I think this is just basics of Lean UX. What is the mindset that we need to follow in order to have a Lean UX in your organization? Actually, I wanted to talk more about the different principles, but as we have a shorter time and we wanted to also allow other people to present their chapters, I will take the next chapter probably next week. Okay. Any questions? Any doubts?
Yes, any questions for Shamsher? Please ask him more questions so that his weekend is difficult. and he's going to enjoy that one, I know.
You can also post your questions on WhatsApp if you don't have right now, because I know there is a lot of thing to digest. But it's okay if you want to come back and ask your questions on WhatsApp. I'll stop my sharing and maybe we can move to next allocated. We're already on time, I think. I'm not sure if you are able to go to the next chapter. Did I take too much time?
No, that is required, Shamsir, because
Yeah, because I just wanted to give you a little bit of insights on what we are going to learn in the next couple of sessions. And it's important to understand the idea of lean UX, right? And that's why I think I've taken a little bit more time and wanted to focus more on these important things, right? So my first two slides is what you can think of it in your mind when you think about lean UX, right? It's a combination of design thinking, lean principles, and agile methodology. And you will see that going forward, that how these different things or how these three things can be fit together to have a lean UX mentality in your organization and products. Perfect.
I have one question here.
Yeah.
Actually, we are following that agile methodology. Okay. And we are following all those things which you have covered in the lean. Okay.
Mhm.
So means how I can differentiate between the lean or agile, or a lean is you can say the upper you can say uh,
True.
set of agile, or agile is you can say the next to the lean.
good question.
Yeah. So I think in my understanding, lean UX is basically aligning these different processes together to produce the right thing, right? And that's why the design thinking, lean principles, and agile methodology, right? So agile, I think Dipti can answer it better, but I wanted to just take a quick
Yeah,
minute and
agile is
say,
a bigger umbrella, you can understand.
yes, yes. It's basically an
Agile is a
iterative
bigger
development.
umbrella.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So the idea of lean UX is focusing more on user experience, building the right thing, and building the things which focuses on generating more value, and then using the agile principles, agile methodologies to see how you can deliver it to the customer, right? So there are a lot of principles on agile methodology. The most important is shorter release cycle, focused implementation, and iterative development, right? So these are the three things that lean UX uses to produce the right outcome for the customers.
Yeah, you nailed it, Samshed. You have already pointed those answers. I hope you got an answer, right, Abha?
Yeah. So on a broader level, lean mostly deals with how we design the product, and agile deals with how we produce that product.
Yeah.
Is this the correct understanding?
Yep.
I will
That's true.
I will just add some additional aspect over here. See, I think you're trying to connect the lean, agile, and the scrum. Okay, as Dipti rightly told, agile is the bigger umbrella, and Scrum or Kanban is one of the ways of working under agile. Okay, if you are connecting to lean with agile, okay, whether it is Scrum or Kanban, anything. See, lean is giving certain philosophy under that one where the discovery and delivery is coming. That's the place only. That's the place only. Your agile way of working is coming, Scrum or Kanban. So in the whole canvas of lean UX, in the whole canvas of lean UX, agile and or Scrum or Kanban comes at the time of delivery. At the time of delivery. Okay. And over the weekend itself, I was thinking that okay, what is that bigger umbrella and how we can connect that one. Okay, so I think shortly I will create an image also for that one where the Scrum or the Kanban fits in, and they fits in during the delivery. Okay.
I have a question. How do you follow this? Is it sequential or is it parallel? Design thinking, lean UX, and agile. Does it work sequentially or is it parallel?
I think this should happen in parallel, because if it's sequential, then again we will fall into the same trap of building the wrong things, right? So it happens parallelly in a different teams, but that happens with more collaboration within the team. So you don't just work in silos, you work with more collaboration within your teams, but everybody works in parallel with each other to deliver the right things to the customers.
No, no, no. That's the second answer what you said.
Mhm.
I'm saying when you start up a project,
Mhm.
okay, so design thinking happen first, lean thinking, lean UX or agile. Because parallelly, if I look at agile doesn't work, agile can work parallel because, okay, some work in design thinking can be done agile way, some work in lean UX can be done agile way. So that's right. But when I look at a certain product design or something, and I wanted to work on lean UX thing, so design thinking come first in my case, but I wanted to understand from your thought, how does it work? Because I think it works sequentially, which I believe, but if you can clear me out, I'll have more better thought process.
So, just adding my comment here, what you are saying is right in terms of it's a design thinking principles used while conceptualizing what the product will deliver value to customer.
Yes,
Using that thinking, you are connecting the dots on how user will get benefited. That is the UX concept, how the user experience can be rich.
right.
And
Okay.
using that in every stage of the delivery.
So,
as
so
as I commented in the chat also, that the sequential all the phases waterfall, which was a longer time spent on each phase, and end of the project delivery comes, but the same series of sequential phases is done at every iteration, and that is agile delivery.
okay.
So you are revisiting what to design using design thinking principles at every iteration for
Uh,
every feature to be delivered.
Yes, yes. So it is, see, theoretically it is sequential, but when you work together, you work parallel.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
But repeatedly, you are revisiting what we are designing and using those concepts.
Yeah, that's fine. But what normally it's when a framework has been designed, the framework says you work sequentially, and then when the delivery comes, you work parallel.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, I hope you got an answer.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
Welcome.
Awesome. Thank you. Abdul, you're on mute.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think we are on time.
Yep.
If there are no question answers, then I think we are going to meet next time. And Dipti and Masnandan are going to share the next chapters.